Welcome back to the Stafford Scoop, where we get to know our elected officials a little bit better. Today we have Councilmember Virginia Rosas.
Yes.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to let the people know what my little hidden secrets are.
Well, let's start from the very beginning. Where did young Virginia Rosas, tell us about where you grew up, about your family, your parents, your siblings.
The year I was born, my father had purchased land in Sugar Land right outside the prison system on 1464. He had like 50 acres of land and he built the home himself. We are large families, 7 girls and 3 boys, and the 3 boys made up for not having more. They were pretty active growing up, but we had a very joyful, we did with a lot, we were of little means, but we worked, and actually we picked cotton, we picked okra just for extra means, and my father worked at Houston Shell and Concrete, and my mother was a stay-at-home mom because there are so many little ones.
Right.
But it was fun because we made our own toys. We would make tree houses and just go play with the cows, and we had, a couple of horses. So it was a good, clean living, and I kind of miss that now, moving into the city. But we took up a whole row at St. Teresa's back in the day. It was a wooden church, and family took a whole row. So we were real ingrained in our Catholic faith, and most of the family has still remained very faithful to the religion, and we don't take up a whole row anymore, but that's who a lot that was instilled in us from our parents was, the faith and education and doing the right thing and integrity and all that. So that's who the young Virginia is, that a lot of the traits are still with me today.
That's great. Now, you've lived in Stafford for about 40 years now. What initially brought you here, and what's kept you here?
Well, I did when I finished college. I purchased a little house on 4th Street in Sugar Land, and I was working for Mayor Scarcella, so the drive was very short, and I enjoyed it. I met my husband here. He was a Stafford police officer, so we dated a while, a couple of years actually, and then we got married, and, just for the convenience, we moved, here because he was working here and so was I. So we purchased the home in Dove Country, and we've remained there the whole time, just had 2 children, they're both grown, and, my daughter's a nurse, and my son works as telecommunications officer for the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office. So, it's an easy transit for both of them, but, they went through the Stafford school system. So it was a small community that we enjoyed, and, that we try to maintain that, because Sugar Land was that way at one time, but as it grew, and, we wanted to remain like a solid bedroom community type atmosphere.
Well, how has Stafford changed over the years, and what do you love most about the community?
What I love most is that whenever there's a need, either a family or a person that, seeks out help, and, it's hard for anybody to ask for help because whether it's pride or whatever, but when they get to that point that, they reach out to the friends or community, we come out, and whether we host lunches or dinners or clothes drives or whatever it is to try to get this family or person back on their feet to restore whatever quality of life that they're needing. I think I like the closeness that we can reach out, and everybody has like a call tree that they can call, and we all come together. I think that is just so unique in today's world that we have that bond with each other, whether you know the person or not, but your friend knows them, and your friend is saying they need help.
Now, you just mentioned your husband and your 2 kids. You have Rebecca and Julian.
Correct.
Right? So what are some of the favorite ways you have to spend time with the family, especially the grandchildren?
Oh my God, don't get me started on my grandchildren. Tristan is going to be 6, May 4th, and his theme is May the 4th be with you. And so, and my granddaughter, she's 3, and she's just a little hurricane. She's just beautiful brown hair with curls, and I know my daughter's going to have her hands full, but I just enjoy when she needs to just babysitting, you know, because they're just incredible. When you see their innocence, you know, and you want the rest of the world to have that, but it's just seeing, you know, being able to relax now and enjoy that, because when you're a parent and you're working and, you know, you go, okay, you've got to do this and that, but you set that time aside, and there's nothing like it, nothing at all.
What do the grandkids call you?
Nana.
Nana.
Nana, and my husband's Peepaw.
Peepaw. How have you managed your career with family life and being a public servant in Stafford? I mean, you've done it a good while now, so how have you balanced all that?
You have to have support. You know, my husband has been wonderful support, and our schedules always seem to be perfect. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was working days, he was working nights, and then so it was when the babies were little, you know, he'd come in and he wouldn't go to sleep right away, so he took the night shift, and then so it worked out really great. But then it's just having family support and friends, you know, whenever, you know, there was something that you needed. So it's, you know, that, again, that community that, or family that you can call and say, hey, I've got a meeting. Do you think you can, you know, watch, you know, Becky or Michael for an hour or so? But it always seemed to work out. I think when there's a plan, it just all comes together like a puzzle. So.
Okay. I mean, what drove you into public service at an early age?
At an early age, believe it or not, my dad, growing in the country, he had cows or beef, and the church would ask him for, because at the church bazaar, and he'd be the grand prize on the lot of the tickets, you know, that he was going to give a calf away. And he would always, you know, as little means as we had, because remind you, we were 10, and we had to make things stretch, and hand-me-downs and clothes and shoes and everything else. But he never said no to the church. And so he would always give, and he says, you have to give, you know, back. And that was that paying forward, you know, that he felt that he had to give. So that just kind of instilled something in all of us that, you know what, it's bigger than us sometimes, that you have to get back. And then voting, when he would go vote, he would take us, you know, so it kind of like, okay. So I did the same thing with my children. When I'd go vote, you know, I'd take them with me just to say, hey, if you want to change anything, or you want, you know, your voice heard, you've got to vote. And they vote now, you know. So it's just, you know, that starting from young age and then moving on, but it started real young, you know, that giving back, and it just kind of, anytime that there was something, whether, you know, it was just volunteering your time if you didn't have the resources to give. So, and it means a lot, you know, to some organizations that just need an extra set of hands.
That's great. You had some great examples, apparently.
Well, yes, absolutely. You know, and I've, you know, you meet so many great people when you do that, because they're there doing the same thing. You know, that maybe I can't give money, but I can give time. It's, you know, the human resource aspect of, you know, whether it's a food drive or clothes drive or whatever it may be, it's just builds a little camaraderie or a little circle of friends that, you know, you can call to when you need help.
Now, you worked for the courts department in Fort Bend County for 34 years, is that right?
Yes.
And you were also a reserve deputy in Precinct 3 for about 26 years, right?
Yes.
So how does that experience working for local government help inform your decisions with the city council now?
It does, because it gives me so many different aspects. Because I worked in the court system. I worked for various JPs, Judge Molina, George Molina. I worked for Judge Mary Ward, Judge Gary Geik in the JP level, and then in the county level, Judge Walter McMeans. So that in itself gave me a wide array of what the court department does and their dynamics and what kind of work comes in. With the JPs, it just wasn't traffic tickets. It was evictions, it was lawsuits, truants, it was driver's license suspensions. It was just a gamut. You have to shift gears all day long. But you learn a lot, from all that experience. In the county court level, of course, it's higher charges. And so that, gives a basis for me for structure and how things should run. So when I worked to the college, now I'm on the other side of the law, actually being a constable, the main job is to do the work of the district and county courts, serving citations or lawsuits or injunctions or whatever it is but you are still a police officer, that you can serve warrants and write tickets and do the warrant roundup. So it gave me that different view of what that's like, to do traffic stops. And so I'm always aware when the police officers come, I've been in their shoes and I know what it's like. You just have a second or two to make a quick decision, and it may be the right one and it may be the wrong one, but if you make that wrong decision in 2 seconds, you get crucified. Yeah. So it's a very thin line, that we expect so much of them, and then so I always support police officer or any law enforcement. Sure. And fire department and any works, public works are first responders too, and they're just incredible. So it gave me an overall view of most of the law enforcement aspect of, but in saying that, it always we had to read contracts with a judge and whatnot. So there's a lot of different, because we do a lot of reading here, so it's kind of like being able to read and skim and pick out the important parts. So it gave me a holistic view of many things. So.
Well, of all of your professional accomplishments, which are the ones that you're most proud of and why?
Professional. Boy, that's difficult. I think I'm going to have to split that 50-50, because I did get my master certification in the Texas Justice Training Center, which is the highest you can get. And I also received my master's certification with TCOL. So both of those I'm really proud, because it was not an easy task to do, and it called for a lot of studying and commitment. So I would have to split that one question into two answers.
Sure. Well, what did it mean to spend the majority, if not your entire career, really helping make Fort Bend better? What has that meant to you, since it's where you spent a lot of your life?
You always try to leave, or in my thought is, you always try to leave the world a little bit better than how you came into it. And the world dynamics, sometimes, the course is going to take itself, but, if it's going in the direction that you see that, hey, this is really great. Let's take Stafford, for instance. We were when I came here, it was a small community town, but through time, it's grown. We've got a lot of development, the model that was created for Stafford was 60-40 with businesses. So you try to work the best you can with what's given to you. Now, with Stafford, one of the things that we have that I feel good about was a sidewalk program. And that started when I was at the school district for a safe route for the children to walk to school. And then that expanded when I came to city council. But the other one was a rental registration program, having better living conditions, for the people that rent, that, are scared to complain, but they're, living, that they've been, they're scared to come out and say anything. So I know Director Chris Riggs was instrumental in helping me with that program, and we still have it today. So those kind of programs really are fulfilling because you're making life a little bit better for the people that are too scared to speak up.
Now, you've served in many roles in Stafford over the 20 years, right? You've served on Planning and Zoning Committee,
Yes.
SMSD Board, City Council, and more for the city. Out of all those, what's been the most rewarding?
Oh, gosh. I believe City Council has. I know that when I served on the school board, it encompassed families, whether it's parents or aunts or uncles or, people with children, that's the most. But then I said, well, I felt that if I hadn't done what I needed to do in 2 terms, I should be able to do what I needed to do in 2 terms. And I did. We started that one-on-one iPad initiative, the sidewalk program, starting the teacher retention, trying to put more books in libraries. So I felt real good, but then my focus was, well, what more can I do? And the platform was City Council, that you can help the entire city and just not part of the residents that had happened to have school children. So that's been the most rewarding is here because you've had, an impact in trying to make the quality of life a little bit better and doing programs that, such as, I think that we're in a period of struggle right now, trying to make the city thrive, but we had COVID come and there were some setbacks, but I think that now we're ready to start meeting those challenges. But I think the most rewarding has been sitting on City Council.
Okay, so speaking of right now, what do you feel is the top priority for Stafford right now?
Top priority is our quality of life, our what the expectation that people have of council as far as having the proper drainage, the street repair, and then we're trying to keep our young people here. So what are we going to do for them? Is we have to have activities that are wanting to stay here. So I think personally, I think that we should start looking into private-public partnerships to bring people in because we don't have the financial means right now to do it on our own. So what else can we do? So we have to start looking at that avenue as what can we do to invite people that want to come and thrive, and we support them any way we can to continue to grow. Our mom and pops, need a lot of help, but I think, it's looking out and trying to create a vision of bringing people in and say, how can we work together? How can we make you thrive? And then, you can bring the retail, sales to us that will continue to provide more amenities for our residents and the people that work here during the day.
What do you believe sets Stafford apart from other cities in the Fort Bend County area?
Well, some would say it's the no property tax, and which it does, but that's such a controversial issue. I won't even begin. But it's and having our own municipal school district. I think that is very unique. But I think those 2 items sets us apart from anybody else, and we're only 7 square miles. So.
Okay. What's one challenge facing the city right now that many people may not be aware of?
Money, funding. We have different thoughts, trains of thoughts on there, and we're holding, we're with the money we live and pay our bills with retail sales. And we need more businesses. That's why I'm reaching out to maybe public-private partnerships to increase that retail sales. But I think the city's financial situation could be better. We're holding right now, but we can't just hold. We need to improve because we need capital plans to develop or improve our streets and drainage and everything that the community's asking for. The money only stretches so far. We need eventually replacement of computer equipment and police cars and fire trucks. So there's a lot of need there, and we're making it work, but it's something that could definitely be improved and needs more work and gets some serious conversation on it.
Tough conversations.
It is, but I've never backed away from challenges. I kind of thrive on challenges because it makes you think. It's kind of like, okay, now what are the consequences if we don't, and what are the consequences if we do? So there's got to be a happy medium, but that only happens when you sit down and have conversations.
Okay. Who has been the biggest influence on you both personally and professionally?
Leonard Scarcella was a huge influence on me. I was, recent college graduate, but I learned so much from him. And the one thing is that he loved this city. He didn't care about the accolades. He didn't care about the trophies or the plaques. His main concentration was on the people. And he loved the people, and the people loved him back. And so I learned a lot about relationships with him because, what he had with the community was relationships. It wasn't, I'm your mayor and, vote for me. He actually knew a lot of the people and families. And so that created a dynamic that I don't think will ever be replaced in Stafford. So he had a huge influence on me. The other one was working for Judge Walter McMeans. He's passed away since, but he was very, it was a yes or no answer. Did you get, this done? And if you had an explanation, he didn't want to hear it as yes or no. And, so you didn't want to tell him no. But he was, sometimes it's, say, oh, the law should be able to bend, but he was the letter of the law. This is what the law says, and this is the way we're going to be. So he taught me a lot of you can have a certain, you start making excuses when you can't, perform, but it's kind of like, yeah, no, yes or no, you did or didn't do it, So it was, he worked hard, but he had the integrity. He wore the robe with a lot of integrity. And that taught me that, those kind of people still exist, and you wish, they did. It's kind of changed over time. But he has such a big influence on me about doing the right thing and doing it right the first time if you can. And if not, it's okay, but, you shoot for doing it right the first time, But those two people had a huge influence on my life, so personally and professionally, yeah.
Well, looking back over all your years of service, what impact do you hope you've made?
I would hope that people would see that she really loved the city and she cared for the city. I'm an open book, and I've told people, ask me any question. You might not like the answer I give you, but I'm going to tell you the truth. So I'm hoping that they see that everything I've done, it's not for me. I couldn't care less if I had a title before my name or not. It's just doing what I feel is best for the community, and I hope that that's how they're going to remember is that, being the Leonard Scarcella, he just happened to have the mayor title ahead, but his whole life was Stafford, the city of Stafford. And I'm hoping that one day, no one will ever be able to, but they can say she really loved the city, and everything she did and every vote she took was for the city, the residents, and the businesses. So.
Okay. Well, one more question.
Okay.
When it's all said and done, what legacy do you hope to have left for the future generations of Stafford?
My legacy is that if you work hard, and I'm hoping that not only Hispanics, but any culture, you know, whether it's Asian or whatever, that women, and I'm going to get on that woman deal, is that we need more women representation because you know, women have a different view sometimes differently. So I want, you know, my hope would be that the legacy is that women can achieve just as much. And you just have to put your heart into it, you work hard, you do, you know, the right thing and just, you know, move along. And you have to have the perseverance sometimes to, you know, meet you, because it's not a rosy road all the time. So you really want to have to be there. And so you have to pay your dues and work towards achieving whatever it is, whether it's, you know, being a council member or the mayor or a commissioner or the county judge, whatever position it is that you want, is just work hard and be committed. You know, you have to commit to it.
Right. Well, Councilmember Rose,
Thank you so
Rosas,
much.
thank you so much for being here. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you for allowing me the time to let the people know who I am.